Hey guys, welcome to Big South Overland. I'm Sean, and today we're doing a walk around on the Tacoma. So we are driving a 2019 Toyota Tacoma double cab short bed. We purchased the truck in January of 2019, new, and we have been working on it ever since. It seems like it's a continual project, so we'll go around and kind of show you what we've done since we've had the truck. One of the first things I did was add rock sliders and the hidden winch lower bumper, which I got from SOS Concepts. I did opt for the aluminum bumper mount for the hidden winch just to cut down on some of the weight, because I knew we were going to be adding so much more to it. In the winch bumper we have a Smittybilt 9,500 pound winch. Under the hood we have an off-grid engineering dual battery setup, and we're running our stock Tacoma battery, and the auxiliary battery is an Optima yellow top. Also, I decided to add a battery charger to the front, which is what this is here on the front. We get questions about this thing all the time. People want to know what that is. It's sort of like shore power, but not really. So we just got the adapter for the mount here. I drilled through the grill, mounted it, and then the actual unit, which I believe is Nimco, is mounted in behind the grill, and then of course it runs to the auxiliary battery, so I can plug it up to 110 volt and keep the battery charged whenever we're sitting still in between trips or what have you. Didn't make any changes to the headlights or the fog lights. I know a lot of folks do that, but we did not. But what we did add were the ditch lights here. We added some ditch lights, and then up top we also have a light bar up front on top of a Prinsu rack up top. We did ultimately have to alter the Prinsu rack, but that was not until after we got the Alu Cab camper. Alright, so for suspension, we are running Bilstein shocks front and rear. I'm running the 6112 adjustables up front and the 5160s with the external reservoir in the back, and also I have an Old Man Emu heavy duty leaf pack in the rear. We're running Method wheels and BFG KO2s on all four wheels, and those are 285/75/16s. Those work pretty well for us. It actually softens the ride. We were running another tire when we first started, still a BFG. It was just a little bit smaller tire, and when we upgraded to these larger tires, the ride improved, 150%. I just love the BFGs. I've had them on multiple vehicles, and the ride is good, and it's a good heavy duty tire. It really takes to off-roading good. So moving to the interior, we have some various mounts here that we utilize when we are on a trip. First off, we have 4 of the Hondo Garage Toyota Tacoma vent mounts. We have 4 vents in the truck, and we have 1 in each vent, and that enables us to do the Ramball mounts for various things that we want up here. So here I have a mount that's made by Hondo. This anti-vibration gizmo here holds the phone, works pretty good. The phone's never fallen out. Moving across the dash, I have a double Ramball mount here with 2 Manfrotto quick release bases. We have 1 for a GoPro facing forward, 1 for the GoPro facing back, so we can get some talking head shots, whenever we're driving or what have you. And then we also have an iPad mount here across that we use for navigation, for Gaia, and different things like that. And then also on the other side we have another phone mount for our other cell phone, depending on who's driving and who's passenger. The switches for the ditch lights and the light bar up top, I wired those into the dash panel here, and there's some various switches, and those seem to work out pretty well. I had lights on another vehicle that were wired up to the high beams, and it just didn't work out that way on this truck because this truck has auto high beams, and I ultimately decided not to install it that way so it wouldn't kick on all those lights at one time. But the individual switches for the ditch lights and the light bar up top so far has worked pretty well. Moving on to the back seat area, we ended up deciding to remove both rear seats, and I made a platform just out of some simple plywood that I painted black and put back there so we could carry more gear in a more efficient manner. And after a couple of trips of being gone without the seats, we decided that we would mount our fridge in the back as well. We originally had the fridge mounted in the bed of the truck, but we moved it to the back seat, mainly because we knew we were getting the Alu Cab by that point, and we were not going to have room in the back because we have a big fridge. We're running a Dometic CFX 75 dual zone. I did build a slide for it, and it does slide out. Works just fine. It has hung out there several hours when we're at camp, and you can easily, of course, access it and get whatever food you may need or drinks that are in there. I added a shelf on top. I built a shelf that mounts inside the truck that fits over the top of the fridge, and generally I store camera gear, tripods, or things like that on top. And so it just easily slides back in with no issue there, and that works out great. Eliminates a fridge that size taking up space in the bed, because, you know, in a 5-foot bed in a Tacoma, you're very limited on space anyway. Got a small fire extinguisher mounted down there. We also just recently installed a CO2 tank for airing up our tires. So what we did there is we just purchased a CO2 tank from a local supplier, and they fill it. You take it back and they swap it out periodically when it's empty, of course. This bag here on the side contains tire gauges and things of that nature. I've got my winch controller in here, a couple of pairs of gloves, things like that. So on the passenger side, in the rear seat area where we deleted the rear seat, I built a little contraption, shelving style unit here that holds our scuttle and cast iron down the bottom, pots and pans. And the solo stove is up there now. Normally that solo stove rides in the back of the truck, and Sally will put her backpack or purse or whatever there. But today the solo stove got the privilege of riding inside the cab. So I recently added my Crazy Beaver shovel, murder spork, to the side of the Canopy Camper. It's through mounted through the door. We'll get to the door in a bit, but so far I've loved that shovel. I've not had a whole lot of use for it, but of course it's kind of like four-wheel drive. It's there if you need it. So we're going to jump over to the other side of the truck real quick, and I'll show you what we have mounted on the other door on the other side. So on this side, again, recently installed the ARB Tread Pros on the door. It's a through bolt mount. I use the Tread Pro mounts, of course. It's just easier to get the mounts made for it instead of trying to fabricate something. And the boards are heavy. If you have those boards, you know they're heavy. All of those boards, those type traction boards, they're heavy. I have discovered that the gas struts in this particular door will not hold them up. So I'm in the process of figuring out exactly which gas struts I need to replace them with so that it holds the door. Although we rarely open this side of the camper, but it would be nice that if we do need to open it with the tracks on there, we can. And often we use the tracks for leveling because they're so easy on and off the truck as well. Also over here on the passenger side, we have mounted our 23-0 shower cube. That thing is a lifesaver, I can tell you. If we end up having to stay in a campground, we deploy that thing, and then we have a little privacy area where we can change our clothes or, you know, do whatever we need to do in there that requires a certain degree of privacy. We also have 10 gallons of fresh water capacity on the truck. We ended up adding a front runner water tank to the front bulkhead of the camper. There's just enough space in there that you can work the tank in there, and then we have it run down out of this gravity fed at this point. I don't have a water pump hooked up to it, but it does run down through the bulkhead at the front of the bed, and then it comes out, and we have a faucet in the back where we can just get water as needed for filling water bottles or washing dishes or what have you. And of course we have the Alu Cab Canopy Camper. This was not our first tent. We started with the typical rooftop tent. We had a camper shell on this truck initially, and we had a rooftop tent on there, and it just wasn't big enough for us. We felt like we needed a little more room. And we had looked at the Canopy Camper a couple of times and were undecided about it, and then ultimately decided that it would be a good fit for us. So we took a leap and ordered it. Took about 5 months for it to come from South Africa, and we had it installed. Pros and cons, there's some good and some bad about it. Of course, both windows open, like I said, on the other side with the tread pros. The door comes right up, and we have some things lashed to the inside of the door on this side. And of course, on the back here, we have the Expedition Essentials propane tank mount with a propane tank, and we're able to directly connect to that and run the Scottle or the Coleman camping stove or what have you, any other gas appliance like that. Moving around here to the back, we opted for the spare carrier on the rear door. That's an option. We just felt like it was better with the bigger tires. Instead of the tire being underneath or it trying to take up space inside the bed, we just moved it to the back. Easier, better functionality that way. We're just running a generic trash bag that I got from Amazon. It's not the best quality. We're looking to try to replace it, but the ones we keep looking at that are popular, they can't make them. They can't make them fast enough, or they can't hold stock for whatever reason. So we're going to pursue that option, try to find us another bag. We owned the Shadow On. We had it mounted on the truck when it had a camper shell on it and load bars, and it was mounted to load bars, and we loved it then. And then when we got the actual Canopy Camper where it properly mounts in the correct position, it's even better. We love the thing. I mean, it opens in about a minute from unzipping the bag, unrolling the fabric, walking around and hooking it on the opposite side of the truck, and it's done. It's up. We've been in some pretty heavy rain with no issues, and some pretty good wind, no issues with it. They say that the awning does not need a support leg, that it will hang off the back of the truck on the hinge mechanism, and I can assure you that it will. It only has the one leg. We've never deployed the leg. We never felt the need for it. The Shadow On does have built-in tie downs that store inside the arms of the awning when it's open. So you can slide those out and lash it down to rocks or tent stakes in the ground if you want to. But again, we've never done that. We've never felt the need because it's so strong. So let's move around to the back, and we'll show you the door opening and what we've done inside the camper. So that's pretty easy to operate. Undo the lever, pull it back, open, the door comes. We did opt for the Expedition Essentials propane bottle holder. That has proved invaluable. The connections for that is pretty easy to access, and we can directly hook up to our Scottle or Coleman stove or any other gas appliance that may require propane. So on the back of the door, what we ended up doing was we added a front runner drop-down table. Works great. Slide out cutting board. We also added a couple of molly panels up top, and we have various things, as you can see, lashed to those storage bags. We have a coffee bag and a little bit of kitchen kit in there. This is more kitchen kit, and then this would be his and hers toiletry bags that we utilize, of course, when we're camping. So we're inside the camper, and if you're at all familiar with the Alu Cab Canopy Camper, it is basically just a shell with the bed that drops down. It doesn't come with anything else inside of it, with the exception of it does have 5 lights. That the lights will switch between red and white and 3 different intensities on each light. It has 5 of those total. It does have 2 USB ports on each side in a zippered compartment up top, and it also has 2 12-volt plugs like a cigarette lighter as well. Outside of that, there's nothing else inside the camper, exception of the bed, of course. So we opted to build some benches along the side, and the benches are about 12 inches deep on each side and run the length of the bed, and ended up doing a flip top on those with a gas strut, and so we just store various items in there: water hose, Coleman stove, our diesel heaters in one bench, just miscellaneous items, you know, that we need whenever we're out camping. Also, there is we have solar on the top, so my solar controller is mounted on the back panel along with the switch plate that I installed and we've wired up, and we do have the dual battery set up, as I mentioned earlier, that runs from the front of the truck to the rear to a fuse block panel, and then all of the electronics in the bed are wired to that fuse block panel, and we also have an inverter in there as well. So the Canopy Camper is a wedge style camper, so what that means is the bed is flipped up when the camper is deployed, I guess you'd say, and then when you get ready to go to bed, you simply pull the bed down, and that's your sleeping platform. Then it has another hinge here with a panel that flips down that you completely can close off. So that's our rig walk around. I hope you got some insight on our setup and what we do. We're trying to get out there as much as possible. You know, everything that's going on in the world today sometimes makes that tough, but we're doing our best, and we're trying to get together more content for you guys. You know, if you've made it this far in the video, we really do appreciate it. You know, while you're here, I invite you to subscribe, and while you're subscribing, if you would, go ahead and hit that little bell there. That's the notifications bell. That'll let you know when we have put up another video. And you know, that's the videos, that's the way we get these things out to the masses. That's how people see what we're doing, and we're able to share what we're doing and hopefully inspire a few others to do the same thing. So everybody just hang in there, get outdoors when you can, and we'll see you on the next adventure.